The diamond wolf. When the weakest became unstoppable, they called her worthless. Wolfless. A mistake that should have died with her mother. For 17 years, Kayla Dorn scrubbed floors, swallowed insults, and survived in silence while Iron Veil Pack treated her like garbage. But tonight, dragged before the tribunal in chains, accused of lies she never told. Tonight, everything breaks. Because Kayla isn't wolfless. She's hiding something so powerful, so ancient, that revealing it could make her the most hunted creature alive. One choice, one transformation, one moment that will shatter everything they thought they knew about power. Stay until the end to see how she destroys them all. Drop a comment with your city below. Let's see where you're watching from. The chains were too tight. Kayla felt the iron bite into her wrists as two guards hauled her across the frozen courtyard of Iron Veil's great hall. Her bare feet scraped against ice-slicked stone, and the winter wind cut through the thin fabric of her servant's dress like claws. She didn't fight. Fighting only made it worse. Above her, the sky was the color of old bruises, purple and gray, threatening snow. The mountains loomed in the distance, jagged teeth that surrounded the pack territory like a prison. Iron Veil sat in the shadow of those peaks, a frontier settlement where survival meant brutality and weakness meant death. Kayla had learned that lesson young. "Move, wolfless!" one of the guards growled. His name was Garrett, a beta enforcer with a scar across his jaw and breath that reeked of whiskey. He shoved her forward hard enough that she stumbled, catching herself just before she hit the ground. Laughter echoed from the watching crowd. Pack members lined the courtyard, men and women in heavy furs, their eyes gleaming with the cruel satisfaction of predators watching something weaker bleed. Children pointed. Elders whispered. No one looked away. This was entertainment. Kayla kept her gaze down. She'd perfected the art of invisibility over 17 years. Don't look them in the eye. Don't speak unless spoken to. Don't give them a reason to notice you. But tonight, that strategy had failed spectacularly. The great hall doors stood open ahead, firelight spilling out into the darkness. Inside, the tribunal waited. Garrett yanked her to a stop at the threshold. On your knees. Kayla dropped without hesitation. The stone floor was cold enough to burn through her dress, but she didn't flinch. She'd learned not to show pain. It only fed them. The hall was packed. Every ranking wolf in Iron Veil had gathered, warriors along the walls, their leather armor creaking as they shifted, council members in the front rows, their faces carved from granite, and at the far end, seated on a raised platform beneath the pack's ancient banner, Alpha Torvin Hale presided like a king over his domain. Torvin was a massive man, broad-shouldered and gray-haired, with the kind of presence that made rooms feel smaller. His wolf was legendary, a dark beast that had killed 17 challengers and defended Iron Veil's borders for 30 years. He wore his authority like armor, every movement deliberate, every word final. Beside him sat his son, Declan. Kayla's stomach twisted. Declan Hale was everything Iron Veil valued. Strong, handsome, ruthless. At 24, he'd already commanded raids into rival territories and earned scars that looked good in firelight. His wolf was nearly as large as his father's, and his reputation for cruelty matched it. Pack gossip said he'd once killed a rogue wolf with his bare hands just to prove he could. He was also the reason Kayla was here. 3 days ago, she'd rejected him. Not publicly, not dramatically, just a quiet no in the kitchen where she worked when he'd cornered her after midnight and suggested she warm his bed. His ego hadn't survived it. "Kayla Dorn," Torvin's voice rolled through the hall like thunder, silencing the crowd. "You stand accused of deception." Kayla kept her eyes on the floor. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might crack a rib. "For 17 years, Torvin continued, this pack has sheltered you, fed you, given you work when you had nothing. And in return, you have lied about your nature." A murmur rippled through the crowd. "You claim to be wolfless," Torvin said. "Is that true?" Kayla's throat was dry as sand. "Yes, Alpha." Liar. The word cracked like a whip. Declan rose from his seat, his expression carved from ice. He descended the platform steps slowly, deliberately, his boots echoing in the sudden silence. Kayla's pulse roared in her ears. Declan stopped 3 feet away, looming over her kneeling form. "You think we're stupid?" His voice was low, dangerous. You think we don't notice things? She said nothing. 2 weeks ago, Declan said, addressing the crowd now, playing to the room. I saw her in the northern woods. Alone. After dark. In territory where rogues hunt. He turned back to Kayla, his smile sharp. No wolfless human survives out there. Not without a wolf to protect them. Kayla's nails dug into her palms. She wanted to scream that she'd been gathering herbs for the healer, that she'd run because she'd heard something moving in the brush, that she'd barely made it back alive. But explaining would only make it worse. Declan crouched in front of her, forcing her to meet his eyes. Up close, she could see the calculation behind his anger. This wasn't about truth. This was about punishment. You shifted, he said quietly, just for her. I know you did. I didn't. Don't lie to me! His roar made the windows rattle. Several people in the crowd flinched. Kayla's hands trembled. The chains felt heavier with every breath. Declan stood, turning to his father. She's been hiding her wolf to avoid pack duties, to avoid contributing. She's a parasite. That's not true, Kayla whispered. No one heard her. Then prove it. Torvin leaned forward in his seat, his eyes cold. Shift. Right now. Show us your wolf. The hall went silent. Kayla felt 200 pairs of eyes boring into her. Her breath came short and fast. This was it. The moment she'd feared her entire life. The impossible choice her mother had warned her about on her deathbed. Never shift in front of them, baby. Never. They'll kill you for what you are. I can't, Kayla said. Can't? Declan laughed. Or won't. I don't have a wolf. Liar! Someone shouted from the crowd. Throw her out, another voice called. Make her prove it. The noise swelled, angry and hungry. Kayla recognized some of the voices. Mira, who she'd served breakfast to for 3 years. Old Henrik, whose laundry she'd washed every week. Joanna, who'd once spat in her face for bringing soup too cold. These were the people she'd lived among, worked for, tried to belong to. And they wanted her blood. Torvin raised a hand. Silence fell instantly. Kayla Dorn, he said, under pack law, you have 2 choices. Shift and prove your worth, or be exiled into the northern wilderness at dawn, alone, weaponless, without supplies. His expression didn't change. That is your judgment. Exile meant death. Everyone knew it. The northern wilderness was a frozen hell crawling with rogues, predators, and things worse than either. Even trained wolves didn't venture there alone. Kayla's hands were shaking so hard the chains rattled. I need an answer, Torvin said. She couldn't do this. She couldn't reveal what she was. Her mother's voice echoed in her mind, desperate and fading. They'll hunt you, Kayla. Every pack, every alpha, every power-hungry wolf in the world will come for you. Promise me you'll hide. Promise me. Kayla had promised, but that promise was about to kill her. Pathetic, Declan muttered. He turned away, dismissing her. She's wolfless. Throw her out tonight. Why wait? No. Kayla's voice cracked. Then shift! Declan spun back, his face inches from hers. Prove me wrong. Show us your wolf, you lying little... Something inside Kayla snapped. Not anger, not fear, certainty. She looked up at Declan, then past him to Torvin, then to the rows of faces that had watched her scrub their floors, serve their meals, and endure their contempt for 17 years. People who had never protected her, never cared, never even seen her as real, and she realized she was already dead to them. She had nothing left to lose. All right, Kayla said quietly. Declan blinked. What? Kayla met his eyes. I'll shift. A hush fell over the hall, the kind of silence that precedes storms. Torvin straightened in his seat. You accept the trial? Yes. For a moment, Declan looked uncertain. Then his smirk returned. Good. Let's see this wolf you've been hiding. Garrett stepped forward and unlocked her chains. The iron clattered to the floor. Kayla stood slowly, her legs unsteady, blood rushing back into her wrists. She looked small in the center of the massive hall, a girl in a threadbare dress, surrounded by wolves. Someone in the crowd laughed nervously. This is going to be embarrassing, a warrior muttered to his companion. Kayla closed her eyes. She thought about her mother. Elena Dorn had been beautiful once, before sickness and secrets had hollowed her out. She died when Kayla was 12, wasting away in a servant's room, clutching her daughter's hand. "Listen to me," Elena had whispered, her voice barely audible. "You're not like them. You're something older, something they've forgotten exists." "What am I?" Kayla had asked, terrified. "A diamond wolf." Elena's eyes had been fierce despite her weakness. "The last one. When you shift, baby, when you finally let it out, the whole world will feel it, and they'll come for you. Every alpha who wants power, every pack that craves control, they'll hunt you down and try to claim you, break you, use you." She'd gripped Kayla's hand harder. "So you hide. You stay small. You survive. Promise me." Kayla had promised, but her mother had been wrong about one thing. Surviving wasn't the same as living, and Kayla was tired of just surviving. "I'm sorry, Mom." She reached inward toward the presence she'd kept buried since childhood, the part of herself that hummed beneath her skin like a second heartbeat, the wolf that wasn't a wolf. And she let it wake. The shift started in her chest, a burning that spread through her ribs, her spine, her limbs. It didn't hurt the way other wolves described shifting. It felt like shedding skin, like breaking out of a cage she'd been locked in her entire life. Light exploded outward, not ordinary light, not firelight or moonlight, diamond light, pure, radiant, blinding. The crowd gasped. Someone screamed. Chairs scraped as people stumbled backward. Kayla's body elongated, expanded, transformed, bones reshaped with sounds like breaking ice. Muscles coiled and thickened. Fur erupted across her skin, but not gray or brown or black. White. Crystalline white. And it shimmered. Each strand of fur caught the firelight and fractured it into rainbows. Her body grew larger, taller, broader. Her paws were the size of dinner plates, claws like polished glass. Her tail swept the floor behind her, leaving trails of light. When the transformation completed, Kayla stood on 4 legs in the center of the hall. But she wasn't just a wolf. She was massive, twice the size of any wolf in the room, bigger even than Torvin's legendary beast. Her fur gleamed like polished diamonds, each strand catching the firelight and throwing it back in fractured rainbows. Her eyes burned silver, ancient and knowing. Power radiated from her in waves that made the air itself feel heavy, electric, dangerous. The great hall was silent. Then, as if pulled by an invisible force, every wolf in the room dropped to their knees. Not out of respect, out of instinct. Submission. Even Torvin, Alpha of Ironvale, undefeated for 3 decades, sank slowly from his throne, his face pale, his eyes wide with something Kayla had never seen before. Fear. The council members were on the floor, heads bowed. The warriors along the walls had collapsed where they stood. In the crowd, people were trembling, some with tears streaming down their faces, overwhelmed by the sheer presence of what stood before them. Only Declan remained standing, but barely. He stared at Kayla, his mouth open, his arrogance shattered like glass. His hands shook. Kayla took a step forward, her claws scraped against stone. The sound echoed like thunder. Several people whimpered. "Impossible," Torvin whispered. "A diamond wolf. They're extinct." "Not extinct," someone breathed from the crowd. Old Marta, the pack historian. "Just hidden. For 200 years, since the Purge." "The Purge," another voice echoed, horrified. Kayla's wolf turned its gaze on Declan. He flinched, actually stumbled backward, his bravado completely gone. She could kill him right now. Rip his throat out. Make him pay for every insult, every sneer, every moment of cruelty. Her wolf wanted it. Wanted blood. Wanted justice. Wanted to make them all understand what they'd done. The instinct was so strong it frightened her. But Kayla was still Kayla. And she wasn't them. She held Declan's gaze for a long moment, letting him see exactly what she could do to him, letting him understand how close he'd come to death. Then she turned away, dismissing him. The way he'd dismissed her 1,000 times. She shifted back. The transformation reversed in a cascade of light. Within seconds, she stood human again, barefoot, shaking, her dress torn at the shoulders from the shift. But she stood tall. The crowd remained on their knees. Kayla looked at Torvin. "Am I still exiled?" The Alpha said nothing. He looked like a man who just watched the ground open beneath his feet. Declan found his voice first. "Father, we can't just... She's Silence. Torvin's command was hoarse. He stared at Kayla like she was a ghost. What are you? What you made me pretend I wasn't. Kayla's voice was steady now, calm. I'm done hiding. She turned and walked toward the doors. Wait. Torvin rose, his alpha authority returning. You can't just leave. A diamond wolf hasn't been seen in 2 centuries. I belong to myself. Kayla stopped but didn't turn around. Not to you. Not to this pack. Not to anyone. Kayla. Torvin's voice hardened. I am your alpha. You're not my alpha. Now she did turn, and the silver in her eyes made him step back. You never were. You tolerated me, used me, let your pack treat me like trash, and when your son wanted to humiliate me, you gave him a stage to do it. Her voice didn't rise, but every word landed like a blow. So no, you don't get to claim me now. The hall was dead silent. If you walk out that door, Torvin said carefully, you'll have no pack, no protection, no home. I never had those things here anyway. The frontier territories will tear you apart the moment they find out what you are. Maybe, Kayla shrugged, but at least I'll die free. She started walking again. Kayla, Declan's voice cracked. She'd never heard him sound uncertain before. You can't survive out there alone. She paused at the threshold, looked back one last time. Watch me. Then she walked out into the snow. Behind her, chaos erupted. Voices shouting, arguing, panicking. She heard Torvin barking orders, Declan's furious cursing, Marta's cracked voice trying to explain what a diamond wolf meant, why the old stories mattered, why this changed everything. Kayla kept walking. The courtyard was empty now. Everyone had crowded into the hall to watch her humiliation. Instead, they'd witnessed something that would haunt Ironvale for generations. She made it to the edge of the settlement before her legs gave out. Kayla collapsed against a storage shed, sliding down the rough wood until she sat in the snow. Her whole body shook, not from cold, but from the aftershock of what she'd just done. She'd revealed herself. After 17 years of hiding, of suffocating silence, of being invisible, she'd shown them everything, and now the entire world would know. Kayla pulled her knees to her chest, buried her face in her arms, and for the first time since her mother died, she let herself cry. Not from sadness, from relief. The cage was open. She was free. She didn't know how long she sat there, long enough for the snow to start falling, long enough for her tears to freeze on her cheeks, long enough for the noise from the great hall to fade into tense, urgent murmuring. You're going to freeze to death out here. Kayla's head snapped up. A woman stood a few feet away, middle-aged, gray-streaked hair pulled back in a practical braid, wearing the simple clothes of a pack healer. Lissa. She'd been kind to Kayla, in small ways. A warm meal when no one was looking, salve for burns from the kitchen fires. Lissa held out a bundle. Supplies. Warm clothes. Dried meat. A knife. Kayla stared at her. Why? Because you're going to need them. Lissa set the bundle down in the snow between them. And because what they did to you was wrong, what we all did, letting it happen, that was wrong too. You could get in trouble for this. Probably. Lissa smiled sadly. But I'm old enough not to care anymore. Kayla reached for the bundle with shaking hands. Inside, a heavy cloak, fur-lined boots, travel rations, a water skin, and a hunting knife with a worn leather handle. Thank you, Kayla whispered. Lissa crouched down. Listen to me. You need to leave tonight, right now. Torvin's calling an emergency council meeting. They're arguing about what to do with you. Some want to claim you, some want to lock you up, some want to sell information about you to the highest bidder. Kayla's blood went cold. Sell me? A diamond wolf is worth a fortune to the right buyer. There are alphas who'd pay anything for a chance to bond with one, mate with one, control one. Lissa's expression was grim. You humiliated them tonight, showed them you were stronger than their entire pack combined. They're terrified, and terrified men do dangerous things. Where do I go? North, deep into the wilderness. It's dangerous, but at least you'll see threats coming. Lissa stood. There are stories about diamond wolves, old stories. They say you can survive anything. Let's hope they're true. She started to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, Kayla, I'm glad you showed them. Someone needed to. Then she was gone. Kayla dressed quickly, pulling on the warm clothes, lacing the boots. Everything was too big, but it was better than freezing. She strapped the knife to her belt, stuffed the rations into the cloak's deep pockets, and stood. The settlement glowed behind her, warm and loud and full of people who had never wanted her. Ahead lay the wilderness, dark, frozen, and deadly. She should be terrified. Instead, she felt awake for the first time in years. Kayla pulled the cloak tight and started walking. The forest swallowed her within minutes. Pine trees thick with snow closed around her, muffling sound. The temperature dropped further, her breath pluming in the air. But her wolf hummed beneath her skin, keeping her warm in ways she didn't fully understand yet. She walked for hours. No plan, no destination, just north, like Lissa said. The moon rose, full and bright, turning the snow-covered forest into something almost beautiful, almost peaceful. Kayla stopped at a frozen stream to drink, cracking the ice with a rock. Her reflection stared back at her, thin face, dark circles under her eyes, hair matted from the shift. She looked half dead, but her eyes were silver, still silver, even in human form. She touched her reflection, watching the water ripple and reform. "Who am I?" she whispered to the forest. The forest didn't answer, but something else did. A howl split the night, distant but clear. Then another and another. Wolves. Not pack wolves. Rogues. And they were hunting. Kayla's heart kicked into overdrive. She stood scanning the darkness. The howls were coming from the east, maybe a mile away. Moving fast. She ran. West, deeper into the forest, away from the sounds. Her new boots slipped on ice, branches tore at her cloak, but she didn't stop. The howls grew closer. They'd picked up her scent. Kayla risked a glance back and saw nothing but darkness and snow. But she heard them now, paws on frozen ground, the crash of bodies through underbrush. At least 4. Maybe more. She couldn't outrun them as a human. Kayla stopped running and turned to face the direction they were coming from. Her heart hammered. Her hands shook. But she didn't hesitate. She shifted. Faster this time, more controlled. The diamond wolf erupted from her human skin in a blaze of light. She was ready when the rogues burst through the trees, 5 of them. Mangy, scarred, eyes wild with hunger. Rogues who'd been cast out of their packs or chosen to leave. Wolves who survived by killing anything weaker. They saw her and stopped dead. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the largest rogue, a male with half his ear missing, snarled. "What the hell is that?" "Don't know," another growled. "Don't care, she's alone, 5 on 1. The half-eared male took a step forward. "Whatever you are, girl, you're in our territory now, and we're hungry." Kayla's wolf lowered its head. A warning. The rogue laughed. "Oh, she's got spirit. I like that." He lunged. Kayla met him midair. The impact sent both of them crashing into the snow. He was fast, vicious, his teeth going for her throat. But Kayla was faster. She twisted, rolled, and came up with her jaws locked around his foreleg. She bit down. The bones snapped like kindling. The rogue screamed and pulled away, limping, blood staining the snow. The others attacked as one. Kayla fought like she had been born to it. Like 17 years of suppressed instinct had exploded all at once. She was bigger, stronger, faster than all of them. Her claws tore through fur and flesh. Her teeth found throats, legs, anything vulnerable. One rogue went down, then another. The half-eared male tried to run. Kayla caught him by the scruff and threw him into a tree. He hit with a sickening crack and didn't get up. The last 2 rogues bolted into the darkness. Kayla let them go. She stood in the clearing, panting, surrounded by bodies. Blood steamed on the snow. Her fur was splattered with red. She'd killed 3 wolves in under a minute. Kayla shifted back to human, her legs giving out the moment the transformation completed. She knelt in the snow, shaking, staring at what she'd done. She'd never killed anything before, never even hurt anyone, but her wolf had known exactly what to do. "What am I?" she asked again, this time desperate. Still no answer. Kayla forced herself to stand. She needed to move. The smell of blood would attract more predators. She grabbed her cloak from where it had fallen, pulled it on over her torn dress, and kept walking. North. Always north. Hours later, as dawn began to break, Kayla finally stopped. She'd found a small cave, barely more than an overhang of rock, but it was shelter. She crawled inside, pulled her cloak tight, and closed her eyes. Sleep came hard and fast, and with it, dreams. She saw her mother, young and healthy, running through a forest Kayla didn't recognize. Saw other wolves, massive, crystalline, beautiful. Diamond wolves, dozens of them, a pack that moved like liquid light. Saw them burning. Saw alphas from every territory converging, driven by greed and fear. Saw diamond wolves hunted down one by one. Saw her mother running, pregnant, alone. Saw her mother hiding. Saw herself born in secret, raised in silence. The last one, her mother's voice echoed. "You're the last one, baby." Kayla woke with tears on her face. The sun was setting. She'd slept the entire day. She sat up, wiped her eyes, and looked out at the darkening forest. Somewhere out there, Ironvale was probably still arguing about what to do with her. Somewhere, word was spreading about the diamond wolf who'd appeared after 200 years. Somewhere, alphas were making plans. But Kayla was here, alone, free. And for the first time in her life, she had a choice about what came next. She didn't know what that would be yet, but she'd figure it out. Because she wasn't the invisible girl anymore. She was Kayla Dorn, and she was done being afraid. 300 miles north, Supreme Alpha Ronan Vale crashed through the forest at a dead run. His second-in-command, Marcus, struggled to keep pace. "Ronan, we need to slow down. The pack can't—" "Then tell them to keep up." Ronan's voice was barely human, even in wolf form. The bond was pulling him south with a force that bordered on madness. He'd felt her wake 3 nights ago. Felt the surge of power that had rippled across every alpha bond in the frontier territories. Felt his own soul answer with a recognition so deep it had brought him to his knees. Mate. After 40 years of searching, of waiting, of wondering if he'd been cursed to walk alone, she existed, and she was in danger. He could feel it through the bond, her fear, her pain, her exhaustion, could feel her running, fighting, surviving. "Hold on," he thought desperately. "I'm coming." Behind him, his pack followed. 50 of the strongest wolves in the Frontier Alliance, loyal to him beyond question. They'd been in the middle of a territorial negotiation when the bond had hit. Ronan had walked out mid-sentence, shifted, and started running. No explanation, no orders, just the overwhelming need to reach her. Marcus had grabbed the pack and followed, because that's what you did when your Supreme Alpha lost his mind. "Sir," Marcus called, pulling alongside him. "We're entering Ironvale's territory. If we cross without permission, I don't care. They'll see it as an act of war." "Marcus." Ronan stopped so abruptly that Marcus almost crashed into him. "I don't care about Ironvale. I don't care about politics. I don't care about war. My mate is out there alone, and I can feel her terror. So either help me find her or get out of my way." Marcus stared at him, then slowly nodded. "Yes, sir." They ran. Through Ironvale's borders without slowing, past patrol markers that should have triggered alarms, deeper into the wilderness than any pack usually ventured. And finally, as the sun began to rise, Ronan caught her scent. Diamond light and wild snow and something uniquely, perfectly hers. He stopped, his entire body rigid. There. A cave. Small, barely visible. And inside. Ronan shifted to human form and approached slowly. His pack hung back, sensing this was private. She was asleep, curled up in a too large cloak, her face bruised, her hands cut, her dark hair matted with dirt and blood. The most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. Ronan knelt at the cave entrance, his hand trembling as he reached out. And Kayla's eyes snapped open, silver, ancient, and absolutely terrified. She moved faster than should have been possible, scrambling backward, a knife appearing in her hand from nowhere. "Stay back," she warned, her voice shaking. Ronan froze. "I'm not going to hurt you." "That's what they all say." He stopped. How did he explain this? "My name is Ronan Vale. I'm the Supreme Alpha of the Northern Alliance, and you—" He met her silver eyes. "You're my mate." Kayla stared at him like he'd lost his mind. "What?" "I felt you wake," Ronan said softly. 3 nights ago. Felt the bond snap into place. I've been searching for you my entire life." He slowly held out his hand. "And I'm here now. You're safe." Kayla looked at his hand, at him, at the massive wolves waiting in the trees behind him. Then she started laughing. It wasn't a happy sound. Safe, she repeated. I've been running for 3 days. I killed 5 rogues last night. My own pack tried to sell me. And now you're telling me we're, what, destined? Yes. No? Kayla shook her head. No, no, no. I don't know you. I don't know anything about you. And I'm not going to trade one cage for another just because some mystical bond says I should. Ronan's heart cracked a little. I'm not trying to cage you. Then what do you want? To keep you alive. He gestured at the forest. You're a diamond wolf. Do you have any idea what that means? What people will do to claim you? I'm figuring it out pretty fast. Then you know you can't survive alone. Kayla's grip on the knife tightened. Watch me. They stared at each other. 2 stubborn, broken people, connected by something neither fully understood. Finally, Ronan sat back. All right, I'm not going to force you, but I'm not leaving either. My pack and I will keep our distance, but we'll follow. And when you need help, not if when, we'll be there. I don't need what? Yes, you do. His voice was gentle but firm. And that's okay. Needing help doesn't make you weak. It makes you smart. Kayla wanted to argue, but she was exhausted, hurt. And despite her best instincts, something in her wanted to trust him. Maybe it was the bond. Maybe it was just desperation. Fine, she said finally. You can follow, but stay back. And if you try to control me, I won't. I'll run again, and you won't catch me. Ronan smiled. Understood. He stood and backed away from the cave, giving her space. Kayla watched him return to his pack, watched them spread out into defensive positions around her cave without getting too close. And for the first time in 3 days, she let herself relax. Just a little. She had no idea if she could trust him, but right now she was too tired to run anymore, so she'd rest, heal, get her strength back, and then she'd decide what came next. Because she was Kayla Dorn, and nobody, not Iron Veil, not rogues, not even a supreme alpha with kind eyes and impossible promises, was going to decide her fate but her. The invisible girl was gone, and the legend had just begun. Kayla woke to the smell of coffee. Not the weak, bitter stuff they served in Iron Veil's kitchens. Real coffee, dark and rich, the kind that cost more than she'd ever been allowed to touch. She sat up fast, knife already in her hand, and found a tin cup sitting just outside the cave entrance, still steaming, and beside it, wrapped in cloth, fresh bread. No one was visible. But she could feel them out there. Ronan's pack stationed in a loose perimeter around her hiding spot, watching, waiting, guarding. The word felt strange. No one had ever guarded her before. Kayla reached for the coffee carefully, half expecting it to disappear. It didn't. She took a sip and nearly groaned. When was the last time she'd tasted something this good? Never. The answer was never. She drank it slowly, letting the warmth spread through her chest, and ate the bread in small bites. Her body was still recovering from 3 days of running, fighting, and sleeping on frozen ground. Every muscle ached. The cuts on her hands had scabbed over but still stung. She needed more rest, more food, more time. But time was a luxury she probably didn't have. Kayla crawled to the cave entrance and looked out. The forest was quiet, blanketed in fresh snow that had fallen overnight. Morning light filtered through the pines, turning everything soft and white. Peaceful. A lie, she knew. The frontier was never peaceful. Movement caught her eye, a large black wolf emerging from the trees about 50 yards away. Even at this distance, she recognized him. Ronan. The way he moved was different from other wolves, confident but not aggressive, powerful without needing to prove it. He stopped at a respectful distance and shifted. Kayla looked away quickly as his human form appeared, giving him time to pull on clothes. When she glanced back, he was dressed in dark pants and a heavy coat, standing in the snow like he couldn't feel the cold. "Morning," he called. Kayla didn't answer. "Sleep okay? Why are you still here? I told you, I'm not leaving. I don't need a babysitter. Good thing I'm not offering to be one." He took a few steps closer, then stopped when she tensed. "I'm offering to be an ally. There's a difference." "I don't know you." "Then get to know me." His tone was reasonable, patient. It annoyed her. "Ask me anything." Kayla studied him. He was older than Declan, maybe early 30s, with dark hair that fell past his collar, and gray eyes that looked silver in certain light. Tall, broad-shouldered, covered in scars that spoke of fights he'd survived. A warrior. A leader. An alpha who could probably crush her with one hand. "Why do you care?" she asked finally. "About me? About any of this?" "Because you're my mate." "That's not an answer. That's just biology." "Is it?" Ronan tilted his head. "I've lived 40 years without feeling this bond. Watched pack members find their mates, wondered if I'd been broken somehow. If I'd done something wrong." He paused. "And then 3 nights ago, I felt you wake up. Felt something inside me recognize something inside you, like pieces of a puzzle finally snapping together." His voice softened. "So yeah, it's biology, but it's also fate, destiny, whatever you want to call it. And I'm not stupid enough to ignore it." Kayla wanted to argue, wanted to tell him destiny was just another word for trap. But part of her, the part that had felt utterly alone for 17 years, wanted to believe him. "What do you want from me?" she asked quietly. "Nothing you're not willing to give." "That's a politician's answer." Ronan smiled. "Fair. How about this? I want you safe. I want you protected. And eventually, when you're ready, I want to know who you are, really are. Not just the diamond wolf everyone's going to be hunting, but Kayla." He met her eyes. The girl who survived 17 years in a pack that hated her. The girl who walked away instead of taking revenge. "That's who I want to know." Kayla's throat felt tight. No one had ever asked who she was before. "You don't know anything about me," she said. "Then tell me. Why should I trust you?" "You shouldn't." The honesty caught her off guard. "I'm a stranger, an alpha. Someone who showed up claiming you belong to him. Every instinct you have is probably screaming at you to run." He spread his hands. "But I'm still asking. Not because you owe me, not because of some bond, but because you deserve someone on your side for once." Kayla stared at him. Then, before she could second-guess herself, she asked, "Why are you called Supreme Alpha?" "Because I lead the Northern Alliance. 5 packs that used to spend more time fighting each other than surviving the frontier. I unified them. Stopped the bloodshed. Built something that actually works." He shrugged. "The title came with the job." "How?" "How did I unify them?" "Yeah. By being stronger than all of them combined, and by proving that cooperation beats conflict." His expression darkened slightly. "Also by killing anyone who disagreed violently enough to be a problem." At least he was honest. "How many?" Kayla asked. "People I've killed?" "Yeah." Ronan was quiet for a moment. 43. That I remember. Probably more that I don't." Kayla's stomach twisted. 43. That wasn't defense. That was war. "You think I'm a monster now," Ronan said. "Not a question. I think you're dangerous." "I am, but not to you." "How do I know that?" "You don't." He took a slow breath. "But I've never hurt anyone who didn't try to hurt me first. Never killed for sport or power, only survival, only protection." He paused. "The frontier doesn't forgive weakness, Kayla. You know that better than anyone." She did know, had lived it. "What happens now?" she asked. "That depends on you." "Stop saying that. It's true. You can stay here and rest. You can come back with me to Alliance territory where you'll have real shelter, real food, real protection. Or you can keep running." He met her eyes. "I'll support whatever you choose." "Even if I choose to leave?" "Even then, though I'd follow at a distance, just in case." "That's still controlling me." "No, that's caring about you." His voice was firm. "There's a difference. Control is forcing you to do what I want. Care is making sure you survive long enough to do what you want." Kayla wanted to hate him for being right, but she was so tired, so hungry, so scared. And he was offering help. 1 week, she said finally. Ronan blinked. "What?" "I'll come with you for 1 week, to your territory. See if—" She struggled for words. "See if this is real. If you're real. But if I decide to leave, you let me go. No arguments, no following." It was a terrible compromise, and they both knew it, but Ronan nodded immediately. "Deal." "I mean it. 1 week, then I decide." I understand. Kayla didn't believe him. Alphas never let go of power once they had it. But she was out of options. When do we leave? She asked. Whenever you're ready. Now? Ronan looked surprised. You sure? You should rest more. If we're doing this, let's do it before I change my mind. A smile tugged at his mouth. All right, give me 5 minutes to get the pack ready. He shifted and loped back toward the trees. Kayla watched him go, then looked down at herself. Her dress was ruined, torn, and bloody. The cloak Lissa had given her was better, but still barely adequate for long-distance travel. She had nothing, was nothing, except the most hunted creature in the frontier. What am I doing? She whispered to the empty cave. The cave didn't answer. Kayla stood, folded the cloak around herself, and walked out into the snow. Ronan's pack was ready in less than 5 minutes. 50 wolves, all massive, all watching her with expressions ranging from curiosity to awe to suspicion. She didn't recognize their hierarchy, didn't know who was beta, who was enforcer, who was just soldier, but she felt their strength, their unity. This wasn't like Ironvale. This was a real pack, one that had fought together, bled together, survived together, and she was walking into the middle of it. Ronan shifted back to human long enough to introduce his second-in-command. Marcus was a scarred, graying man with kind eyes and a warrior's build. Ma'am, Marcus said, bowing slightly. Kayla blinked. Don't call me that. You're the Supreme Alpha's mate. Protocol requires, I'm Kayla, just Kayla. Marcus glanced at Ronan, who nodded. Kayla, then. We'll travel in formation, Ronan explained. Scouts ahead, guards on the flanks, you in the center with me. It's a 2-day run to Alliance territory if we push hard, 3 if we take it easy. I can keep up. I know you can, but you're still recovering. We'll take it easy. Kayla wanted to argue but didn't. She was exhausted just standing here. Ready? Ronan asked. No, she wasn't ready. Wasn't sure she'd ever be ready. But she nodded anyway. The pack shifted as one. A coordinated wave of transformation that left 50 wolves standing in the snow. Kayla shifted last, her diamond wolf emerging in its usual cascade of light. Several pack members actually gasped. She ignored them and fell into position beside Ronan. His wolf was huge, black with silver markings along his spine, easily the largest in the pack aside from her. He moved with absolute confidence, and his pack followed without question. They ran. The first day blurred together. Forest gave way to open tundra, then back to forest. They crossed frozen rivers and climbed steep hills. The pack moved like a machine, each wolf knowing exactly where to be. Scouts ranged ahead, checking for threats. Guards rotated positions on the flanks. No one spoke, couldn't, in wolf form, but they communicated through body language, through pack bonds. Kayla couldn't quite feel. She'd never been part of something like this, had never belonged to anything that worked. It was strange, unsettling. And somewhere deep down, a small part of her liked it. They stopped at dusk to rest and eat. Ronan's pack had supplies cached at strategic points along the route, dried meat, water, basic shelter. They'd clearly traveled this path before. Kayla shifted back to human and accepted food from Marcus without comment. Her body ached from running, but it was a good ache, the kind that came from using muscles properly instead of just surviving. Ronan sat beside her, keeping a respectful distance. How you holding up? He asked. Fine. You're favoring your left leg. Kayla glanced down. She hadn't realized. Old injury, kitchen accident. Want me to look at it? No? Kayla's... I said no. Ronan raised his hands in surrender. All right. But if it gets worse, tell me. They sat in silence for a while, eating. Around them the pack settled in for the night. Some shifted to human to talk quietly. Others stayed in wolf form, curling up in the snow. Can I ask you something? Kayla said finally. Anything. Earlier you said you killed 43 people. What did they do? Ronan was quiet for a long moment. Most were challengers, alphas who thought they could take my territory. A few were rogues who attacked pack members. 3 were traitors who sold information to enemies. He paused. And 1 was my father. Kayla's head snapped toward him. What? My father was the previous Supreme Alpha. He was cruel, brutal. ruled through fear instead of respect. When I was 25, I challenged him. Ronan's voice was flat, emotionless. It was a fight to the death. Pack law. I won. You killed your own father. I killed a tyrant who needed to die. He met her eyes. I'm not proud of it, but I'm not ashamed either. Sometimes the only way to stop a monster is to become something worse. Kayla thought about Torvin, about Declan, about every wolf in Ironvale who'd made her life hell. Did you want to kill him? She asked quietly. Yes. The honesty was brutal. Does that make me a monster too? Ronan asked. Kayla considered. I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe it just makes you someone who survived. Is there a difference? I hope so. They sat with that for a while. Then Marcus approached, his expression tense. Sir, we have a problem. Ronan stood immediately. What is it? Scouts found tracks. Big group, heading this direction. How many? 20, maybe more, moving fast. Ronan cursed under his breath. Ironvale? Can't tell yet, but they're tracking something, and we're the only thing out here worth tracking. Kayla's blood went cold. They'd found her already. Of course they had. She was a glowing beacon in wolf form, impossible to hide. How far? Ronan asked. 4 hours. Maybe less if they push. Can we outrun them? Marcus shook his head. Not with Kayla injured, and they know this territory better than we do. Ronan's jaw tightened. He looked at Kayla. We need to move, now. They'll just keep following. Then we'll lose them in the mountains. There are passages only my pack knows. Or I could face them. Ronan stared at her. Absolutely not. They're coming for me anyway. Might as well deal with it now. Kayla, you can barely stand. You think you can fight 20 wolves? I don't have to fight them. Just scare them enough to leave us alone. That's insane. Maybe. But it's better than running forever. Ronan looked like he wanted to argue. Then he glanced at Marcus, who shrugged helplessly. Your call, sir, Marcus said. But she's not wrong. We can't keep running with a target this big. Ronan closed his eyes, took a breath, opened them. All right, but we do this smart. My pack sets up defensive positions. If things go wrong, we get you out. Ronan, that's the deal, Kayla. Take it, or I carry you to Alliance territory myself. She wanted to argue, but the look in his eyes said he meant it. Fine. They had less than 4 hours to prepare. Ronan's pack moved with military precision. Scouts identified a narrow valley with high walls on both sides, easy to defend, hard to flank. They set up positions along the ridges, hidden in the rocks and snow. Archers, yes, some of them carried actual bows, took the high ground. Fighters clustered at choke points. Kayla stood in the center of the valley, alone, her diamond wolf shining in the moonlight like a challenge. This is a bad idea, Ronan said for the 10th time. He was positioned on the ridge above her, ready to jump down if things went wrong. You already said that. Saying it again won't make it less true. Just trust me. I barely know you. Then trust the bond. Ronan was silent for a moment, then, be careful. Always am. A lie. But it made him feel better. They didn't have to wait long. The group appeared at the far end of the valley exactly 90 minutes later. 23 wolves, all wearing Ironvale's colors, leather bands around their forelegs, marked with the pack's symbol. Leading them was a familiar figure. Declan. Of course it was. He shifted to human as they approached, and his pack followed suit. They formed a line across the valley entrance, blocking any escape route. Kayla shifted too. She stood in her torn dress and borrowed cloak, barefoot in the snow, completely alone. Declan smiled. Hello, Kayla. Declan. You've led us on quite a chase. Sorry to inconvenience you. His smile widened. Sarcasm, I like it. Shows spirit. He took a step forward. You need to come back with us. No. It wasn't a request. Don't care. Declan's expression hardened. My father wants to talk to you, wants to negotiate. Negotiate what? How quickly he can sell me? We don't want to sell you. We want to protect you. Kayla laughed, short and bitter. You spent 17 years treating me like trash. Now you want to protect me? Try again. Things have changed. Yeah, I have. You haven't. Declan's jaw clenched. I'm trying to be reasonable here. Then leave. Can't do that. Can't or won't? Both. He gestured to his pack. You're a diamond wolf, Kayla. Do you have any idea what that means? What you're worth? I'm not a commodity. Maybe not. But you're also not safe out here alone. I'm not alone. Declan glanced around the empty valley. Really? Because it looks pretty lonely from where I'm standing. Kayla smiled. Looks can be deceiving. On cue, Ronan's pack revealed themselves. 50 wolves emerging from the rocks and shadows, surrounding Declan's group completely. And on the ridge above, Ronan himself, massive, powerful, unmistakable. Declan's confidence cracked. What? Meet the Northern Alliance, Kayla said calmly. And their supreme alpha. Ronan shifted, clothes appearing as if by magic. He stood on the ridge looking down at Declan like a king surveying peasants. You're trespassing in neutral territory, Ronan said, his voice carried across the valley without effort. Ironvale has no jurisdiction here. Declan recovered quickly. We're just retrieving a pack member. She's not your pack member anymore. She left. She's still Ironvale. She's nothing you get to claim. Ronan's tone went cold. I suggest you leave. Now. And if we don't? Ronan smiled. It wasn't friendly. Then we'll have a problem. And trust me, you don't want problems with the Northern Alliance. Declan looked at his pack. 23 wolves against 50. The math wasn't good. But he wasn't done yet. Fine, Declan said. We'll leave. But this isn't over. Word's already spreading about her, about what she is. Every alpha in the frontier will come looking. He focused on Kayla. You think he can protect you? He can't. No one can. You're a diamond wolf, you're a prize, and someone will claim you eventually. Let them try, Ronan said quietly. The threat in those 3 words made several of Declan's wolves step back. Declan held Ronan's gaze for a long moment. Then he turned to Kayla. You're making a mistake, he said. Wouldn't be my first. You could have had everything, status, power, a place in the pack. I had a place, on my knees scrubbing your floors. Declan flinched. Go home, Declan, Kayla said. Tell your father I'm not coming back. Tell him the diamond wolf is done being invisible, and tell him... She paused. Tell him I'm exactly what my mother warned me I'd become if I ever stopped hiding. Something they should be afraid of. Declan stared at her. Then he shifted without another word. His pack followed, and they disappeared into the night. Silence fell over the valley. Then Marcus started laughing. Did you see his face? That entitled bastard looked like he'd swallowed rocks. Other wolves joined in, the tension breaking into relieved chuckles. Ronan jumped down from the ridge and walked to Kayla. You okay? She was shaking, adrenaline crash. Yeah. That was brave. Stupid, but brave. He called me a prize. He's an idiot. He's right, though. People are going to come for me. Lots of people. Ronan stepped closer. Then we'll deal with them. Together. Kayla looked up at him. Why are you doing this? I told you. No, really. Why? The bond doesn't explain everything. You don't know me. Don't owe me anything. So why risk your pack, your alliance, all of it? Ronan was quiet for a long moment. Then, because when I felt you wake up, I didn't just feel the bond. I felt your fear, your pain, your loneliness. And I thought, no one should ever feel that alone. He met her eyes. So maybe I'm doing this because of the bond. Or maybe I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. Does it matter? Kayla's throat felt tight. Yes. Why? Because I need to know if this is real. If you're real, or if you're just another alpha who wants to own me. I don't want to own you, Kayla. I want to stand beside you. Ronan's voice was soft. There's a difference. She wanted to believe him, wanted it so badly it hurt. But 17 years of survival had taught her not to trust easily. We should keep moving, she said instead of answering. Declan won't stay gone forever. Agreed. They ran through the night. By dawn, they'd crossed into Alliance territory, marked by stone cairns and patrol routes. Ronan's wolves knew by heart. The landscape changed from wilderness to something almost civilized, roads mostly covered in snow, settlements in the distance, signs of organization. They reached Alliance headquarters just after noon. It was bigger than Kayla expected. Not a single building, but a compound, multiple structures arranged around a central hall, surrounded by walls and guard towers. Hundreds of wolves lived here, she realized, maybe thousands. This wasn't just a pack, it was a nation. Ronan's wolves were welcomed back with celebration. People emerged from buildings, calling out greetings, embracing returning pack members, and every single one of them stopped dead when they saw Kyla. Her diamond wolf gleamed in the daylight, impossible to miss, impossible to ignore. Supreme Alpha, an older woman said, approaching Ronan carefully. Who is this? This is Kayla Dorn, Ronan said. My mate, and under my protection. The woman's eyes went wide. A diamond wolf, after all these years? Spread the word, Ronan said. Anyone who threatens her answers to me. The woman bowed and hurried off. Within minutes, the entire compound knew. Kayla shifted back to human, suddenly self-conscious. Everyone was staring, whispering. Come on, Ronan said gently. Let's get you inside. He led her to the main hall, smaller than Ironvale's but warmer, more lived in. There were tapestries on the walls, fires in multiple hearths, actual furniture instead of cold stone benches. This is home, Ronan said. For the next week, anyway. It's nice. Wait till you see your room. He showed her to a suite on the second floor. Private, spacious, with a real bed, clean clothes, and a bathroom that had actual hot water. Kayla stood in the doorway, staring. I know it's not much, Ronan started. I've never had my own room before. He looked at her. Really looked. Never? Servants don't get rooms in Ironvale. We get corners, storage closets, wherever we don't bother anyone. Ronan's expression darkened. They treated you worse than I thought. It's fine. No, it's not. He stepped back. This is yours, for as long as you want it. No strings, no expectations, just yours. Kayla didn't know what to say. I'll leave you alone, Ronan said. Rest, eat, whatever you need. Someone will bring food in an hour, and if you need anything else, just ask. He started to leave. Ronan? He turned. Thank you. His smile was gentle. You're welcome. Then he was gone. Kayla stood alone in her room, and started crying. Not from sadness, from something she didn't have a name for yet. Something that felt dangerously close to hope. The hope lasted exactly 3 days. Kayla spent those first 72 hours in a strange limbo. She ate real food, roasted meat, fresh bread, vegetables she'd only ever served to others. She slept in an actual bed with clean sheets. She bathed in hot water until her skin turned pink and the grime of 17 years finally washed away. She tried to rest, tried to let herself believe this could be real, but the stares never stopped. Every time she left her room, wolves stopped talking mid-sentence to watch her pass. Children pointed, elders whispered, warriors studied her like she was a puzzle they needed to solve before she became a threat. No one was hostile. Not exactly, but no one was warm either. She was the Supreme Alpha's mate, the legendary diamond wolf, an object of fascination and fear in equal measure. Not a person. Never just a person. On the fourth morning, Kayla woke to shouting outside her window. She crossed to the glass and looked down into the courtyard. A crowd had gathered, at least 100 wolves, maybe more, and they were arguing, loudly. She's a liability, someone yelled. The Supreme Alpha knows what he's doing, another voice countered. Does he? Or is he thinking with something other than his brain? Laughter, ugly laughter. Kayla's stomach twisted. She dressed quickly and headed downstairs, following the noise to the main courtyard where the crowd had swelled to nearly 200. Ronan stood on the steps of the central hall, Marcus at his side, facing down what looked like a full-scale rebellion. You brought a target into our home, a gray-haired warrior was saying. His name was Kellor, one of the senior pack commanders. Every alpha in the frontier knows she's here now. How long before they come for her? How long before we're fighting a war we didn't start? We can handle any threat, Ronan started. Can we? 5 packs want her already. 5! And that's just the ones we know about. Keller gestured to the crowd. How many of our people are you willing to sacrifice to protect one girl? She's not just one girl. No, she's worse. She's a diamond wolf, a myth that half the frontier thinks is a weapon and the other half thinks is a curse. Keller's voice rose. You're supreme alpha. Your job is to protect this alliance, not throw it away for a mate bond you've known for less than a week. The crowd erupted in agreement. Ronan's expression went dangerously cold. Careful, Keller. Or what? You'll kill me for speaking the truth? Keller spread his arms. Go ahead. Prove everyone right. Prove you've lost your mind over a pretty face and a powerful wolf. Ronan took a step forward. The air itself seemed to vibrate with suppressed violence. Marcus grabbed his arm. Sir, don't. Kayla didn't think. She just moved, pushing through the crowd until she stood at the base of the steps. He's right, she said quietly. Everyone turned to stare. Ronan's head snapped toward her. Kayla. He's right, she repeated, louder now. I am a liability. I am a target, and keeping me here does put you all in danger. That's not... Yes, it is. She looked at Keller. How many packs want me? Keller blinked, surprised she was asking. 5 that we've confirmed. More rumors every day. And they'll come here? Eventually, yes. To take me by force? Or to make an offer? Or to form an alliance? Or... Keller paused. Or to eliminate you. Remove the threat before someone else claims it. Kayla felt ice slide down her spine. Eliminate me. There are alphas who believe diamond wolves are too dangerous to exist, that your kind was purged 200 years ago for a reason. Keller's voice wasn't cruel, just matter of fact. They'd rather see you dead than risk you falling into enemy hands. The courtyard went silent. Kayla looked up at Ronan. His face was carved from stone, fury barely contained. You knew this, she said. Yes. And you didn't tell me. I didn't want to scare you. I'm already scared. Her voice cracked. I've been scared since the moment I shifted in that hall, since the moment I realized what I was, what everyone would want from me. She took a breath. You should have told me. Ronan came down the steps until he stood in front of her, close enough to touch. What difference would it have made? I could have left. Could have kept running instead of bringing this war to your door. You think I'd have let you? It's not your choice to make. Yes, it is! Ronan's control finally snapped. You're my mate. That means your safety is my responsibility. Your survival is my priority. And I don't care how many packs I have to fight or how many alphas I have to kill. I'm not letting you face this alone. The raw emotion in his voice stunned the crowd into silence. Kayla stared at him. Why? Because I love you. The words fell like bombs. Kayla took a step back. You don't even know me. I know enough. 4 days, Ronan. We've known each other 4 days. And I've felt more in those 4 days than in 40 years before them. He moved closer. You think the bond is just biology? Just instinct? It's not. It's recognition. My soul recognizing yours. And yeah, maybe it's fast, maybe it's crazy, but it's real. Kayla wanted to believe him, but all she could see was the crowd watching them. All she could feel was the weight of expectation, of prophecy, of destiny trying to swallow her whole. I can't do this, she whispered. Ronan's expression cracked. Kayla, I need to go. Where? Anywhere, I don't know. Just away. Running won't solve anything. Maybe not, but staying here will get people killed. She looked at the crowd. I won't be responsible for that. She turned and walked away. Ronan called after her. Kayla, wait! But she didn't stop. She went back to her room, grabbed the few things that were hers, and headed for the gates. Marcus intercepted her at the main entrance. You can't leave. Watch me. Kayla, please, just think about this. I have thought about it. I've done nothing but think about it. She met his eyes. I'm a weapon everyone wants to own, a target everyone wants to eliminate, and I won't let good people die because I'm too scared to face that alone. You don't have to face it alone. That's the whole point. The whole point is survival, and right now the best way to survive is to disappear. She moved past him. Tell Ronan I'm sorry. Tell him... Her voice caught. Tell him he deserves better than this. She walked out before Marcus could respond. The compound gate stood open. No guards stopped her. Maybe they'd been ordered not to. Maybe they were relieved to see her go. Kayla shifted and ran. North again. Always north. Into the deepest wilderness where even Alliance patrols rarely ventured. She ran until her lungs burned, until her paws bled, until exhaustion dragged at her like chains. And when she finally stopped, she was alone again. Completely alone. The way she'd always been. Kayla shifted back to human and collapsed in the snow, too tired to even cry. She'd made the right choice. She knew she had. Ronan's alliance didn't deserve to be destroyed because of her. Those people, Marcus, the warriors, even Kellor, they'd built something worth protecting, and she was the thing that would tear it apart. Better to be alone. Better to... A twig snapped behind her. Kayla spun, already shifting, claws extending, and froze. 3 wolves stood at the edge of the clearing, but these weren't rogues or alliance members or Ironvale hunters. These wolves were wrapped in leather armor marked with symbols she didn't recognize. Their eyes gleamed with intelligence and calculation. And between them stood a woman in human form, tall, angular, dressed in furs and metal like some ancient warrior queen. "Kayla Dorn," the woman said. Her voice was silk over steel. "The Diamond Wolf. We've been looking for you." Kayla's hackles rose. "Who are you?" "My name is Vera Ashcroft, matriarch of the Southern Coalition." She smiled. "And I'm here to make you an offer you'd be foolish to refuse." Kayla didn't lower her guard. "I'm not interested." "You haven't heard the offer yet." "Don't need to. Even if it means survival, protection, a place where you won't be hunted?" Vera took a step closer. "I know what you are, Kayla. I know what you're running from. And I know that boy Alpha thinks he can save you with pretty words and a mate bond. But he can't. You don't know anything about him. I know he's young, idealistic, soft." Vera's smile sharpened. "I know his alliance is already fracturing because of you. Give it a week, and his own people will demand he hand you over. Give it a month, and they'll do it without his permission." "That's not true." "Isn't it? You heard them yourself. Keller's not the only one who thinks you're a liability." Vera circled slowly, her wolves mirroring her movements. "The frontier doesn't forgive weakness, child. And love? Love is the greatest weakness of all." Kayla's mind raced. This woman knew too much, had planned this too well. "How did you find me?" Kayla asked. "We've been tracking you since Ironvale, since you revealed yourself." Vera stopped circling. "The Southern Coalition has resources the Northern Alliance can't match. Spies, seers, hunters who can track anything, even a diamond wolf. What do you want?" "I want you to join us, willingly." Vera extended a hand. "Come south, accept my protection. In exchange, you help us unify the frontier territories under one rule, one law, one pack." "By force? By necessity. The frontier is dying, Kayla. Packs fighting each other while resources dwindle and winter gets harsher. We need strength, unity, and you," Vera's eyes gleamed, "you could be the symbol that brings everyone together. The Diamond Wolf, the last of your kind, a legend reborn." It was a pretty speech, almost convincing, almost. "And if I refuse?" Kayla asked. Vera's expression didn't change. "Then we take you anyway, but it will be much less pleasant." The 3 armored wolves shifted stance, ready to attack. Kayla's wolf surged forward, ready to fight, and then froze. Because 20 more wolves had just emerged from the trees, all armored, all marked with the Southern Coalition symbols, 23 total, all surrounding her. She was trapped. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be," Vera said. "You're outnumbered, exhausted, and even a diamond wolf can be overwhelmed with enough force." Kayla's mind spun. She could fight, could try to break through the line, but she'd seen what 20 wolves could do when she'd faced Declan's group, and that had been with Ronan's pack backing her up. Now she had nothing. "Come peacefully," Vera continued. "Let me show you what real power looks like, what a diamond wolf can accomplish with the right support." She lowered her voice. "Or stay with that boy and watch him destroy everything he's built trying to protect you. Your choice." It wasn't a choice. It was a threat wrapped in false compassion. But Kayla had learned something in 17 years of surviving Ironvale. She'd learned how to buy time. "If I come with you," Kayla said slowly, "you leave the Northern Alliance alone. No attacks, no retaliation. They get to pretend I was never there. Vera considered. Agreed. And I want your word, whatever that's worth. You have it. Kayla didn't believe her, but she shifted back to human anyway, standing naked and vulnerable in the snow. Smart girl, Vera said, smiling. One of the armored wolves approached with clothes, simple traveling gear, warm but restrictive. Kayla dressed mechanically, her mind already racing ahead. If she could just get them to lower their guard. Just for a moment, just long enough to... Don't even think about running, Vera said, as if reading her mind. You'll have a guard on you at all times. Try to escape, and we'll drag you back in chains. Her smile never wavered. I'd prefer to treat you as an honored guest, but I will treat you as a prisoner if necessary. Kayla said nothing. They started moving south, the armored wolves forming a tight perimeter around her. Vera walked beside her, talking about the Southern Coalition's territory, their resources, their vision for the frontier. Kayla barely heard any of it. All she could think about was Ronan, what he'd say when he found out she was gone, whether he'd come after her, whether she wanted him to. They traveled for 6 hours straight. No breaks, no rest. Vera's wolves moved with mechanical efficiency, clearly trained for long-distance forced marches. As the sun began to set, they reached a camp, temporary but well-organized. Tents, supplies, guards. At least 50 more wolves waiting. This wasn't a hunting party. It was a military operation. Welcome to Coalition territory, Vera said. You'll sleep here tonight. Tomorrow we continue south to my stronghold. And then what? Then we begin your education. Teach you what you really are, what you can really do. Vera's expression was almost kind. You've spent your whole life hiding, Kayla, running, surviving. Don't you want to know what it feels like to actually live, to use your power instead of burying it? Part of Kayla did want that, desperately, but not like this. Never like this. They locked her in a tent with 2 guards posted outside. The interior was comfortable, bedroll, warm blankets, even food and water. But it was still a cage. Kayla sat on the bedroll and tried to think. She could try to escape tonight, shift and fight her way out. But there were too many guards. Even if she made it past the first wave, they'd track her, hunt her down. And next time they wouldn't be gentle. She could wait. Bide her time. Look for a better opportunity. But how long before Vera stopped being polite and started being forceful? Kayla buried her face in her hands. She'd made a mistake leaving the Alliance. A huge mistake. Ronan had been right. Running didn't solve anything. It just led to different problems. Worse problems. I'm sorry, she whispered to no one. I'm so sorry. The tent flap opened. Kayla's head snapped up, expecting Vera. Instead, a young woman slipped inside. Maybe 20 years old, with dark skin and nervous eyes. She was wearing Coalition colors, but moved like she didn't want to be here. Who are you? Kayla asked. My name's Sarah. The woman glanced at the tent entrance. I don't have much time. Vera's in a council meeting, but she'll be back soon. What do you want? To help you escape. Kayla stared. Why? Because what she's doing is wrong. You're not a weapon. You're a person. Sarah's hand shook as she pulled something from her pocket, a small vial of clear liquid. This is suppressor. It'll mask your scent for about 2 hours, long enough to get a head start. Why are you helping me? Because I was taken too, 3 years ago. Vera promised me protection and gave me slavery. Sarah's voice cracked. She'll do the same to you. She'll use you, break you, and when you're not useful anymore, she'll discard you. I've seen it happen. Kayla took the vial carefully. If they catch you helping me, I know, but I can't watch her do this again. I can't. Sarah moved to the tent entrance, listening. The guard change happens in 10 minutes. When they rotate positions, there's a gap in coverage on the north side. 30 seconds. That's your window. Sarah, don't waste it. The young woman looked back, tears in her eyes. And if you make it out, if you survive, tell someone. Tell the world what she's building down here, what she's planning. What is she planning? War. Real war. She wants to conquer the entire frontier, and she thinks a diamond wolf will make her unstoppable. Sarah opened the tent flap. 10 minutes. North side. Run fast. Then she was gone. Kayla sat frozen for exactly 5 seconds. Then she moved. She drank the suppressor. It tasted like burnt metal and made her throat burn. Then she positioned herself near the tent's north wall, listening. Outside, she heard footsteps, voices, the sound of guards changing shifts. She counted in her head. 30 seconds. That's all she'd get. 29, 28, 27. Her heart hammered. 15, 14, 13. She shifted, quietly, carefully. 5, 4, 3. She tore through the tent wall in one smooth motion, claws slicing canvas like paper, and ran. North. Full speed. Not looking back. Behind her, someone shouted. Alarms went up. The entire camp erupted into chaos. But she had a head start, and the suppressor was working. She could feel the difference, her scent muted, harder to track. She ran like her life depended on it. Because it did. Kayla crashed through the forest, branches tearing at her fur, snow flying. Behind her, coalition wolves were giving chase. She could hear them, coordinated, professional, closing the distance. She pushed harder, faster. Her lungs burned, her legs screamed, but she didn't stop. 2 hours, Sarah had said. 2 hours before the suppressor wore off. She just had to outlast them that long. Find somewhere to hide. Somewhere they couldn't reach. Ahead, the trees thinned. Open ground. Dangerous. She'd be exposed. But staying in the forest meant getting caught. Kayla burst out of the tree line and found herself on the edge of a cliff. Below, a river rushed through a canyon, white water and jagged rocks. Behind her, coalition wolves were seconds away. No choice. Kayla jumped. The fall seemed to last forever. Wind roaring, stomach dropping, the river rushing up to meet her. She hit the water like a hammer, cold. So cold it felt like fire. The current grabbed her immediately, dragging her under, slamming her against rocks. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only tumble through the chaos. Her lungs burned, her vision darkened. Then her head broke the surface. She gasped, swallowed water, gasped again. The river carried her downstream, fast, violent. She tried to shift back to human, needed hands to grab something, anything, but the current was too strong. A boulder loomed ahead. She tried to dodge. Failed. The impact knocked her unconscious. When Kayla woke, she was on a riverbank, coughing up water, her entire body one giant bruise. She didn't know where she was. Didn't know how long she'd been in the river. Didn't know if the coalition was still hunting her. All she knew was that she was alive. Barely. Kayla tried to stand and collapsed immediately. Her leg was wrong, twisted, maybe broken. She shifted back to human and immediately regretted it. The pain was worse in this form. No, she whispered. No, no, no. Injured, alone, lost. And night was falling. She dragged herself behind a fallen log, using it as shelter. Her whole body shook. From cold, from shock, from fear. This was it. This was how she died. Not in some glorious battle. Not making a heroic sacrifice. Just alone, broken, forgotten. Kayla closed her eyes. I'm sorry, Ronan, she whispered to the darkness. You were right about everything. Then she heard it. Footsteps. Multiple sets. Coalition hunters. They'd found her. Kayla tried to move, tried to shift, but her body wouldn't respond. Too damaged, too exhausted. The footsteps got closer. A shadow fell over her. Kayla looked up, ready to see Vera's cruel smile. Instead, she saw Ronan. His face was a mask of fury and relief in equal measure. Behind him stood Marcus and at least 30 Alliance wolves, all breathing hard like they'd been running for days. Found her, Marcus called. Ronan dropped to his knees beside her. Kayla, can you hear me? She tried to speak, but only managed to whisper. How? Tracked you. The moment you left, I knew something was wrong. We've been following your trail for 12 hours. His hands were gentle as they assessed her injuries. You're hurt. Coalition, they took me. I escaped. I know. We found their camp. Found the girl who helped you. Ronan's voice was tight. Vera's dead. So are 20 of her wolves. Kayla's eyes went wide. You killed her? She took what was mine. His expression was terrifying. No one takes what's mine and lives. Marcus appeared with blankets, wrapping them around Kayla's shaking body. We need to move. More coalition wolves could be tracking her. Can you shift? Ronan asked Kayla. I don't think so. My leg. Then I'll carry you. He lifted her carefully, cradling her against his chest. Hold on. Kayla wanted to argue, wanted to tell him she could manage. But the truth was, she couldn't. So she did the hardest thing she'd ever done. She let him help her. Ronan shifted to his wolf form, somehow maintaining his grip on her. Then they ran. The entire pack moving as one, carrying her away from coalition territory, away from danger. Kayla drifted in and out of consciousness. Every jolt sent pain screaming through her leg, but Ronan never dropped her, never slowed. When they finally stopped, they were deep in Alliance territory. A healer was waiting, an older woman with gentle hands who set Kayla's leg and wrapped it in splints. She'll heal, the healer said, but she needs rest, weeks of it. Ronan nodded, his jaw tight. When they were alone, he sat beside Kayla's bed in the medical wing. I'm sorry, she whispered. For what? For running. For not trusting you. For... Her voice broke. For everything. Ronan took her hand carefully. You did what you thought was right. Tried to protect people you barely knew. That's not something to apologize for. I almost got killed. Yeah, you did. His grip tightened slightly. Don't do it again. I won't. Promise me. Kayla looked at him, really looked. Saw the fear beneath the anger, the terror beneath the relief. He'd thought he'd lost her. I promise, she said. Ronan leaned forward and pressed his forehead to hers. I meant what I said in that courtyard. All of it. I know. Do you feel the same? Kayla closed her eyes. Did she love him? She barely knew what love was supposed to feel like, but she knew that when she'd been dying on that riverbank, she'd thought of him, had wanted to see him one more time, had wanted to live. Ask me again in a week, she whispered. Ronan smiled. Deal. He stayed with her while she drifted off to sleep. And when nightmares came, of drowning, of coalition wolves, of Veyra's cruel smile, his presence kept them at bay. For the first time in her life, Kayla wasn't alone in the dark. And that made all the difference. But outside the medical wing, Marcus stood with a grim expression, holding a sealed letter that had just arrived. From 6 different Alpha packs, all declaring war on the Northern Alliance, all demanding they surrender the Diamond Wolf, or face annihilation. Marcus waited until morning to show Ronan the letters. They stood in the Supreme Alpha's office, 6 sealed declarations spread across the desk like accusations. Kayla was still sleeping in the medical wing, her leg healing slowly, unaware that the entire frontier had just united against her. Ronan read each letter in silence. His expression never changed, but Marcus had known him long enough to recognize the fury building beneath the surface. Blackridge Pack, Stoneclaw Territory, the Eastern Coalition, Frost Vale, Iron Vale, and the Scattered Peaks Alliance. Ronan's voice was flat. 6 packs. They're calling it the Frontier Union. A union built specifically to destroy us, Marcus said, or at least to take Kayla. Same thing. Ronan set down the last letter. They're giving us 3 days to surrender her. After that, they march. How many wolves are we looking at? Combined? At least 300, maybe more. Marcus crossed his arms. We have 140. Good fighters, well-trained but outnumbered 2 to 1. 3 to 1 if they get reinforcements. Which they will. Every pack in the frontier will want a piece of this. Marcus paused. Sir, we need to evacuate. Get the non-combatants to the northern safe zones. Fortify our position. No. Ronan, I said no. The Supreme Alpha looked up, and his eyes had gone completely silver. We're not running, we're not hiding, and we're definitely not surrendering. Then what are we doing? Ronan was quiet for a long moment. Then, we're changing the game. Marcus didn't like the sound of that. How? By doing what they least expect. Ronan moved to the window, looking out at the compound. They think we're going to defend, dig in, wait for them to come to us. So we do the opposite. We attack first? Not attack, negotiate. Marcus stared. You want to negotiate with 6 packs that just declared war on us? I want to talk to the one person they're all afraid of. Ronan turned back. The reason they formed this union in the first place. Not me. Not our alliance. Kayla. I'm not following. They're terrified of what she represents. A diamond wolf. a power they can't control. So they've convinced themselves she's a threat that needs to be eliminated or claimed. Ronan's expression was thoughtful. But what if she proves she's neither? What if she shows them there's a third option they haven't considered? Which is? Partnership, cooperation. Everything I've been trying to build with this alliance, but on a larger scale. Ronan moved to the desk, gathering the letters. The frontier is dying, Marcus. You know it as well as I do. Resources dwindling, territory shrinking, packs fighting each other while the real threats, starvation, exposure, extinction, get closer every year. We need unity, real unity. And Kayla could be the symbol that makes it possible. Or she could be the spark that starts a war we can't win. She's already that spark. The question is whether we let it burn everything down or use it to forge something new. Ronan looked at his second-in-command. I need you to trust me, Marcus sighed. I followed you for 15 years, through challenges, battles, and every crazy plan you've ever had. I'm not stopping now. He paused. But if this goes wrong, then we fight, and we make them regret ever threatening what's ours. They clasped forearms, the gesture sealing the decision. Then Ronan went to wake Kayla. She was still asleep when he entered the medical wing, her face peaceful in a way it never was when she was awake. The healer had done good work. The swelling in her leg had gone down, and the bruises were already fading to yellow. Wolves healed fast, diamond wolves even faster. Ronan sat carefully on the edge of her bed. Kayla, her eyes opened immediately, silver and alert. No grogginess. Pure survival instinct. She relaxed slightly when she recognized him. What's wrong? How do you know something's wrong? You have that look, the one Marcus gets right before he tells you something you don't want to hear. She sat up carefully, wincing. What happened? Ronan handed her the letters. Kayla read them in growing horror. Her hand started shaking halfway through the third one. 6 packs, she whispered. They're all coming for me. For us. We're in this together. No, we're not. They don't care about you. They want... She stopped, reading one of the letters again. Ironvale is part of this? Torvin signed this. Along with Declan. Seems they've put aside their embarrassment long enough to join a winning team. This isn't a team. It's a lynch mob. Kayla set down the letters, her expression crumbling. I did this. I brought this war to your door. No, they did this. By being too scared and too greedy to see past their own ambition. Ronan took her hand. But we can stop it. How? By giving them what they want? By giving them what they need. He squeezed gently. I have a plan, but it requires you to trust me. I do trust you. Even when the plan sounds insane? Kayla almost smiled. Especially then. Ronan explained it over the next hour. With every word, Kayla's eyes grew wider. You want me to what? She asked when he finished. Meet with them. All of them. Face to face. They'll kill me. They'll try. That's why we'll do it on neutral ground with witnesses. Make it a formal summit. Ronan leaned forward. Right now, you're a myth to them. A legend. A threat they've never actually seen. But if you stand in front of them, talk to them, show them you're not what they fear. I am what they fear. I'm a diamond wolf. You're also Kayla, a girl who survived 17 years of abuse and still chose mercy over revenge. A person, not a weapon. His voice softened. Let them see that. Let them see you. And if they don't care, if they just want to capture me anyway, then we fight. But at least we'll have tried peace first. Kayla looked at the letters again. 6 packs, 300 wolves, all united by fear and greed. She'd spent her whole life hiding, running, making herself small. Maybe it was time to do the opposite. All right, she said. Let's do it. Ronan's expression lit up. Yeah? Yeah, but on one condition. Name it. If this goes wrong, if they attack or try to take me, you get your people out. You don't sacrifice your alliance for me. Kayla, promise me, Ronan. If it comes down to me or your pack, you choose your pack. He looked at her for a long moment. I can't promise that. Then I can't do this. They stared at each other, 2 stubborn people locked in an impossible standoff. Finally, Ronan nodded. Fine. If things go catastrophically wrong, I'll prioritize the alliance, but I'm not leaving you behind. That's not negotiable. Ronan, those are my terms. Take them or leave them. Kayla wanted to argue, but the set of his jaw said it would be useless. Fine, she said. Marcus sent the response that afternoon. A formal invitation to the Six Packs for a summit in neutral territory, the ancient gathering grounds that had been used for frontier negotiations for over a century. Sacred ground where violence was forbidden by tradition. Not that tradition had ever stopped anyone from breaking rules before, but it was something. The responses came back within 24 hours. All 6 packs agreed to attend, some enthusiastically, some suspiciously, but they'd all show up. In 3 days. Kayla spent those 3 days learning everything she could about the packs she'd be facing. Marcus provided detailed reports on each alpha, their territories, their histories, their weaknesses. Blackridge Pack was led by Alpha Thorn, a brutal fighter who'd killed his own brother to take power. They controlled the richest mining territory in the frontier and had the weapons to match. Stoneclaw territory was smaller but vicious, led by Alpha Kira. She'd built her reputation on taking down wolves twice her size and had never lost a challenge. The Eastern Coalition was an alliance of 3 smaller packs led by a council rather than a single alpha. Democratic in theory, cutthroat in practice. Frostvale was the oldest pack in the frontier, led by the ancient Alpha Morvain. He'd seen 4 generations of alphas rise and fall and still held power through cunning and ruthlessness. Ironvale she knew. Torvin and Declan would be there, probably still furious about being humiliated. And the Scattered Peaks Alliance was a loose confederation of mountain packs led by Alpha Senna, young, ambitious, and desperate to prove herself. 6 different personalities, 6 different agendas, all united by one goal: control the Diamond Wolf. You don't have to do this, Ronan said the night before the summit. They were in his office, going over strategy for the 100th time. Yes, I do. We could still run, disappear into the deep north where no one would find us, and spend the rest of our lives looking over our shoulders? No thanks. Kayla set down the report she'd been studying. Besides, you said it yourself. The frontier needs unity. Maybe this is how we get it. Or maybe we're walking into a trap. Probably both. She managed to smile. But at least it'll be interesting. Ronan moved around the desk and pulled her into his arms. She went willingly, resting her head against his chest. I'm scared, she admitted quietly. Me too. You? The Supreme Alpha who killed his own father and unified 5 packs? That Supreme Alpha is terrified of losing his mate. He held her tighter. I just found you, Kayla. I'm not ready to lose you. Then don't. She looked up at him. Stand with me tomorrow. Help me show them there's another way. Always. They stood like that for a long time, taking comfort in each other's presence. When Kayla finally pulled away, she asked the question that had been bothering her for days. What if I'm not strong enough? What if I can't convince them? Then we'll figure out plan B. Which is? Ronan smiled grimly. Haven't thought of it yet, but I'm creative under pressure. Despite everything, Kayla laughed. The gathering ground sat in a valley between 3 mountain peaks, a natural amphitheater where the frontier's packs had met for generations. Ancient stone markers ringed the perimeter, carved with symbols so old no one remembered what they meant. Sacred ground. Neutral territory. A place where blood feuds were supposed to be set aside in favor of negotiation. Supposed to be. Ronan's alliance arrived first, taking position on the western edge of the grounds. 140 wolves, armed and armored, forming a protective semicircle. Kayla stood at the center in human form, wearing simple clothes that Marcus had found for her. No armor, no weapons, just her. The other packs arrived over the next hour. Each one made a show of their entrance, warriors in formation, banners flying, alphas walking at the front like conquerors. By noon, over 300 wolves filled the gathering grounds. The energy was electric, dangerous. One wrong word and this would explode into violence. The 6 alphas gathered in the center of the circle, forming a loose arc. Ronan stood with them as the 7th. Kayla stood slightly behind him, visible but protected. Alpha Thorn spoke first. He was massive, gray-haired, with scars that covered half his face. We're here, Vale. Now what? Now we talk, Ronan said calmly. like civilized wolves instead of animals. Funny, coming from someone who killed 20 coalition wolves last week. This from Alpha Kira, sharp-featured and dangerous. Heard you tore through them like they were pups. They took something that belonged to me. I retrieved it by slaughtering them. Alpha Morvain's voice was ancient, dry as dust. Tell me, Supreme Alpha, if we try to take your diamond wolf, will you slaughter us too? Only if you make me. Thorn laughed. Brave words. But you're outnumbered 3-1. You can't fight all of us. I don't want to fight any of you. That's why we're here. Ronan gestured to Kayla. You want to meet the diamond wolf? Here she is. Talk to her. See for yourself that she's not the threat you think she is. She's a weapon, Torvin said. Ironvale's Alpha looked older than Kayla remembered, diminished somehow. One that could tip the balance of power in the frontier. Whoever controls her controls everything. I don't want to be controlled, Kayla said. Her voice was quiet, but carried. And I'm not a weapon. Then what are you? Alpha Senna asked. She was younger than the others, maybe 30, with calculating eyes. A survivor, same as all of you. A survivor with the power to level entire packs, Kira said. Don't insult us by pretending you're harmless. I'm not harmless, but I'm not a conqueror either. Kayla took a step forward, out of Ronan's protective shadow. I just want to live, to exist without constantly looking over my shoulder. Is that really too much to ask? Yes, Morvain said bluntly, because what you want and what you are don't align. Diamond wolves were purged 200 years ago for a reason. Your kind became too powerful, too dangerous, started thinking they could rule over regular wolves. I don't want to rule anyone. Maybe not now, but power corrupts, always has, always will. Morvain's gaze was cold. Better to eliminate the threat before it grows. Several wolves in the crowd murmured agreement. Kayla felt the situation slipping. She'd known this was a possibility, that talk wouldn't work, that they'd already made up their minds. But she had to try. What if I proved I'm not a threat? She asked. Thorn raised an eyebrow. How? A challenge. Single combat. Pick your strongest fighter. If I win, you leave me. Leave us alone. If I lose... She swallowed hard. If I lose, I submit to whatever judgment you decide. The gathered alphas looked at each other. No, Ronan said immediately. Absolutely not. It's the only way. You're still healing. Your leg is fine. Kayla met his eyes. Trust me. Ronan looked like he wanted to argue, but he'd promised to trust her. Slowly, painfully, he nodded. Thorn smiled. Interesting proposal. Single combat. Winner takes all. He looked at the other alphas. Who wants the honor? I'll do it, Declan said. Of course he would. He stepped forward from Ironvale's ranks, already shifting. His wolf was huge, dark brown with black markings, easily twice the size of a normal wolf, but still smaller than Kayla's. Declan, Torvin started. I've got this, father. Declan's voice was confident, arrogant. I've been waiting for a rematch since she embarrassed me in our hall. Kayla shifted in response. Light exploded outward as her diamond wolf emerged, and even though they'd all heard the stories, seeing it in person made the crowd gasp. She was magnificent, crystalline white fur that caught the sunlight and fractured it into rainbows, silver eyes that glowed with ancient power, massive enough to make even the largest alphas look small. For a moment, doubt flickered across Declan's face. Then he attacked. He was fast, faster than Kayla expected. He went low, trying to get under her guard and go for her injured leg. But Kayla was faster. She sidestepped, spun, and caught him with her shoulder. The impact sent him tumbling. Declan rolled to his feet and charged again. This time he tried to use his weight, slamming into her broadside. Kayla let him hit her, let him think he had the advantage. Then she twisted, grabbed him by the scruff, and threw him 15 feet. He hit the ground hard enough to leave a crater. The crowd went silent. Declan got up slowly, limping now. Blood dripped from a cut above his eye. He'd underestimated her. They all had. Yield, Kayla said. Her voice in wolf form was deeper, resonant. You can't win this. Like hell I can't. Declan charged again, desperation making him reckless. Kayla met him head on. They collided in a tangle of claws and teeth, rolling across the ground. Declan fought dirty, going for eyes, throat, anything vulnerable. But Kayla fought smarter. She used his momentum against him, let him overextend, and when he left himself open, she took it. Her jaws closed around his throat, not biting down, just holding. One move and she could kill him. Everyone knew it. Declan went still, his wolf's eyes wide with terror. Kayla held him there for 5 long seconds, letting him feel how close to death he was, letting the crowd see that she had the power to kill and was choosing not to. Then she released him and stepped back. Declan collapsed, panting, defeated. "I yield," he gasped. "I yield." Kayla shifted back to human, standing over him. "I could have killed you, but I didn't, because I'm not the monster you think I am." She turned to face the gathered alphas. "I'm not here to conquer, not here to rule. I just want peace, for myself and for everyone tired of fighting." Her voice carried across the silent gathering grounds. "The frontier is dying, we all know it. Resources are dwindling, territory is shrinking. How much longer can we keep fighting each other before there's nothing left to fight for?" Alpha Morvain was watching her with new respect. "What are you suggesting?" "An alliance. A real one. Not built on fear or forced submission, built on cooperation, shared resources, mutual protection." Kayla looked at each alpha in turn. "I'm not asking you to worship me or follow me. I'm asking you to work with me, to build something better than what we have." "And if we refuse?" Thorn asked. "Then you go back to your territories and wait for winter to kill what war couldn't, or you keep fighting each other until there's nothing left." She paused. "Or you try to kill me, and deal with every wolf who sees this as proof that you're more interested in power than survival." It was a gamble, a huge gamble, but Kayla had learned something in 17 years of being invisible. She'd learned to read people, to understand what they wanted beneath what they said, and what these alphas wanted, what they really wanted, was hope. Morvain spoke first. "An alliance, with a diamond wolf at its center." He looked thoughtful. "Not as leader, but as symbol, as proof that cooperation works." "Exactly," Ronan said, stepping forward. "We've been trying to build this in the Northern Alliance for years. Now we have the chance to expand it, to create something that covers the entire frontier." "Under your leadership?" Kira's tone was skeptical. "Under shared leadership, a council, representatives from every pack." Ronan looked at Kayla. "With Kayla as mediator, not ruler, mediator. Someone who has no territorial agenda, no political ambition, just survival." The alphas looked at each other. Thorn broke the silence. "And if this alliance fails, if cooperation proves impossible?" "Then we tried," Kayla said. "And we'll know war is the only option, but at least we tried peace first." Senna was nodding slowly. "My packs are starving. We can't survive another winter like the last one. If this alliance could pool resources, share hunting grounds—" "It could," Ronan confirmed. "That's exactly what it could do." "I'm in," Senna said. Thorn grunted. "Blackridge will consider it, but I want guarantees, protections. We're not giving up our mining rights. You won't have to. This isn't about taking territory, it's about sharing resources." Ronan was already negotiating, already building. "Every pack keeps sovereignty over their land, but we work together on the big problems: defense, food, trade." One by one, the alphas started nodding. Even Torvin, though he looked like it physically pained him. "Iron Veil will join, but we want assurances that past conflicts are forgiven." "Past conflicts are history," Kayla said. "What matters is what we build going forward." Only Morvain remained silent. The ancient alpha studied Kayla with eyes that had seen centuries of frontier politics. Finally, he spoke. "I've lived through 4 diamond wolves, watched them rise, watched them fall. Every one of them became what they swore they'd never be. Tyrants who thought power gave them the right to rule." Kayla's heart sank. "But," Morvain continued, "every one of them was raised to believe they were special, destined, above others." He looked at her carefully. "You weren't. You were raised as nothing, as less than nothing, and that might make all the difference." He bowed his head slightly. "Frostvale will join your alliance, Diamond Wolf, but I'll be watching. And if you become what your ancestors were, I'll be the first to put you down." "Fair enough," Kayla said. And just like that, the Frontier Union became the Frontier Alliance. 6 packs that had come to make war left committed to peace. It wouldn't last forever. Kayla knew that. There would be disagreements, conflicts, challenges. Peace was hard work, harder than war in many ways. But it was a start. As the other packs began to disperse, making plans to send delegates to the first council meeting, Ronan pulled Kayla aside. "You did it," he said. "You actually did it." "We did it," she corrected. "I couldn't have done this without you." "You fought Declan without me." "I meant all of it. The past 2 weeks. Saving me, believing in me, giving me a reason to stop hiding." She took his hand. "Thank you." Ronan pulled her close. "Ask me that question again." "What question?" "The one you said to ask in a week, about whether you feel the same." Kayla's breath caught. Had it been a week already? More than a week, and she knew the answer. "Yes," she said quietly. "I feel the same." Ronan's smile was brighter than the sun. "Yeah? Yeah, I love you, Ronan Vale. I don't know how it happened so fast or why the universe decided we belonged together, but I do. I love you." He kissed her then, right there in the middle of the gathering grounds with 300 wolves watching, and Kayla kissed him back. When they finally broke apart, the Alliance wolves were cheering. Even Marcus was smiling. All right, the second-in-command called. "Let's save the celebration for after we've actually formalized this alliance and made sure no one changes their mind." But the celebration had already started, because for the first time in 200 years, the frontier had hope. And standing at the center of it all was a girl who'd spent 17 years being invisible, who'd been called worthless, wolfless, nothing, and who'd just changed the entire world by refusing to stay hidden. Kayla Dorn wasn't invisible anymore. She was a diamond wolf, a survivor, a leader, and most importantly, finally, impossibly, she was free. Freedom, Kayla discovered, came with a price tag she hadn't anticipated. The first Frontier Alliance Council meeting was scheduled for 2 weeks after the summit. 2 weeks to let the initial excitement settle. 2 weeks for the Alphas to return to their territories and explain to their packs why they'd just sworn cooperation with wolves they'd been fighting for generations. 2 weeks for Kayla to realize that being a symbol was exhausting. Delegates started arriving at Alliance headquarters within days. Not just from the 6 main packs, but from smaller territories that had heard about the summit and wanted in. Mountain packs, forest clans, even a group of coastal wolves who'd traveled for 3 weeks just to see if the diamond wolf was real. They all wanted to meet her, talk to her, touch her, as if proximity to a legend would somehow transfer power. Kayla hated every minute of it. "You need to smile more," Marcus advised after a particularly grueling day of introductions. "You look like you're being tortured." "I am being tortured." "You're being diplomatic. There's a difference." "Is there?" Kayla slumped in the chair across from Ronan's desk. The Supreme Alpha was out meeting with yet another group of visiting dignitaries, leaving her with his second-in-command. "I thought this alliance would make things easier. Instead, it feels like I've traded one cage for another." Marcus studied her thoughtfully. "You know what your problem is?" "I have several. Which one are we discussing?" "You're thinking like a servant instead of a leader." Kayla sat up. "What?" "In Iron Vale, you survived by being invisible, by not making waves, by doing what others told you." Marcus leaned forward. "But you're not in Iron Vale anymore. You're the Diamond Wolf, the mediator of the Frontier Alliance, and people are going to look to you whether you want them to or not." "I didn't ask for this. No one asked for greatness. It just shows up and demands you deal with it." He paused. "You can keep hiding from it, keep hating the attention and wishing you were invisible again, or you can accept it and use it to actually change things." "How?" "By leading, by being the person this alliance needs instead of the person Iron Vale told you that you were." Kayla wanted to argue, but Marcus had a point. She'd spent so long surviving that she'd forgotten how to live. And living meant making choices instead of just reacting to what others demanded. "All right," she said slowly. "Then what should I be doing?" Marcus smiled. "Start by telling Ronan what you actually want, instead of just going along with his plans because you think you owe him." "I don't." "You do. You're grateful he saved you, grateful he loves you, and you're terrified that if you push back too hard, he'll realize you're not worth the trouble." Marcus's voice was gentle. But real love doesn't work like that. Real love can handle disagreement. Kayla sat with that for a long moment. Then she stood. Where is he? East Wing. Meeting hall. But he's with the Stoneclaw delegation. Kayla was already walking. She found Ronan exactly where Marcus said, deep in discussion with Alpha Kira and 3 of her senior warriors. They were arguing about hunting boundaries. Stoneclaw wanted access to Alliance territory during the harsh winter months, and Ronan was negotiating the terms. Kayla walked in without knocking. Everyone turned to stare. I need to talk to you, she said to Ronan. Kayla, we're in the middle of... I know, this is more important. Ronan looked at Kira, who raised an eyebrow but nodded. We can continue this later, Supreme Alpha. Once they were alone, Ronan crossed his arms. What's wrong? I don't want to be a mediator. He blinked. What? I don't want to be a mediator, or a symbol, or whatever else this alliance thinks I should be. Kayla took a breath. I want to build something. Actually build it, not just stand around looking pretty while everyone else does the real work. Ronan's expression shifted from surprise to understanding. What do you want to build? A refuge. A place for wolves who don't fit anywhere else. Orphans, outcasts, people like I was. Her words came faster now, ideas she'd been forming for days finally finding voice. Every pack has them. People who are too weak or too different or too broken to be useful. They get shoved aside or thrown out. I want to give them somewhere to go. That's actually brilliant. You think so? I think it's exactly the kind of thing this alliance needs. Proof that we care about more than just territory and resources. Ronan moved closer. But it'll be a lot of work. You'll need land, supplies, people willing to help. I know, and I want to do it anyway. Kayla met his eyes. I'm tired of being afraid. Tired of waiting for someone to tell me what I'm allowed to want. I spent 17 years like that. I'm done. Ronan's smile was proud. Then let's make it happen. Over the next week, Kayla threw herself into planning. She identified a piece of unclaimed territory on the northern border. Harsh land that no pack wanted because it was too exposed, too difficult to defend. Perfect for people who had nowhere else to go. She recruited help from surprising places. Lissa, the healer from Ironvale who'd given her supplies, showed up with 2 other healers who'd heard about the project. Sarah, the young woman who'd helped her escape the Southern Coalition, arrived with a group of former Coalition captives looking for a new start. Even some of Ronan's pack volunteered. Warriors who'd lost families, scouts who preferred solitude, craftspeople who wanted to build instead of fight. Within 2 weeks, they'd broken ground on the first structure. Nothing fancy, just a shelter large enough to house 20 wolves through the winter. But it was a start. The official council meeting happened on schedule. Representatives from all 7 major packs gathered in Alliance headquarters' Great Hall, the same hall where Ronan had first offered Kayla sanctuary. This time she wasn't hiding in the back. She sat at the council table between Ronan and Alpha Morvain, representing not just herself, but the vision of what the frontier could become. The meeting started with the usual political maneuvering, territory disputes, resource allocation, who owed what to whom. Kayla let them argue for an hour before she'd had enough. Can I say something? She asked. The table went quiet. You're all fighting about scraps, Kayla said. Arguing over hunting grounds and mineral rights like they're the most important things in the world. But you're missing the bigger picture. Which is? Thorne asked, his tone just short of hostile. Survival isn't just about having enough food or enough territory. It's about having a reason to keep going. Kayla stood, addressing the entire room. I grew up with nothing. No family, no status, no future. And you know what kept me alive? The hope that someday things would be different. That someday I'd matter. She gestured to the window, where construction on the refuge was visible in the distance. That's what we're building out there. Hope. A place where wolves who have nothing can find something, where the broken can heal, where the forgotten can matter. Her voice strengthened. And if this alliance is going to mean anything, if it's going to be more than just another power grab, then it needs to be about more than resources. It needs to be about people. Silence fell. Then Alpha Senna stood. I agree. My packs have lost too many to despair, to cold, to the feeling that nothing we do matters. She looked at Kayla. What you're building, that matters. and the Scattered Peaks Alliance wants to help. As does Frost Vale, Morvain said quietly. We have resources to spare. Might as well use them for something worthwhile. One by one, the other alphas pledged support. Materials, labor, supplies. Even Torvin, though he looked like the words physically hurt him. Iron Vale will contribute as reparation for past wrongs. Kayla met his eyes across the table, saw something she'd never seen before. Shame, maybe even regret. Thank you, she said simply. After the meeting adjourned, Declan approached her. He looked different than she remembered, smaller somehow, despite being the same size, less sure of himself. Kayla, he said. Can we talk? She almost said no, but Marcus's words echoed in her head, about being a leader instead of a survivor. 5 minutes. They walked to the courtyard, far enough from the main hall for privacy. Declan was quiet for a long moment. Then, I owe you an apology. Kayla waited. I was cruel to you. In Iron Vale, before, during the tribunal, all of it. He wouldn't meet her eyes. I thought you were beneath me. Thought being wolfless made you worthless. And when you rejected me, I couldn't handle it, so I lashed out. You tried to have me exiled. I did, and I was wrong. Finally, he looked at her. You're not worthless. You never were. I just couldn't see it because I was too busy trying to prove my own worth by tearing you down. Kayla studied him, looking for the lie, the manipulation, but all she saw was genuine regret. Why are you telling me this? She asked. Because you deserve to hear it, and because... Declan took a breath. Because watching you stand up there, leading this alliance, building something real, it made me realize how small I've been. How small my whole life has been. What do you want from me, Declan? Forgiveness? No, I don't deserve that. He shook his head. I just wanted you to know that I see you now, really see you, and I'm sorry it took this long. He turned to leave. Declan, he stopped. We're going to need fighters at the refuge, people who can teach self-defense to wolves who've never had to protect themselves. Kayla paused. You interested? Declan's eyes widened. You're offering me a job? I'm offering you a chance to be better than you were. Whether you take it is up to you. He was quiet for a moment, then he nodded. I'll think about it. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a start. The refuge took shape faster than Kayla expected. Within a month, they had 3 buildings completed and another 2 under construction. Wolves started arriving, some brought by pack members who'd heard about the project, others finding their way on their own. A blind elder from Blackridge, who'd been scheduled for exile. Twin orphans from the Eastern Coalition, who'd been living on scraps. A young wolf from Frost Vale, who'd lost her entire family to rogues. Each one broken in their own way. Each one looking for somewhere to belong. Kayla met with every arrival personally, learned their names, their stories, what they needed. It was exhausting, overwhelming, and the most fulfilling thing she'd ever done. You're good at this, Ronan said one evening as they watched the sunset from the refuge's main building. At what? Leading, caring, making people feel seen. He pulled her close. You were born for this. I was born to scrub floors, according to Iron Vale. Iron Vale was wrong about everything. He kissed the top of her head. I'm proud of you. Kayla leaned into him. Thank you for believing in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. Always. They stood like that for a while, watching the sun paint the sky in shades of gold and red. Then Marcus appeared, his expression urgent. Sir, we have a situation. Ronan tensed. What kind of situation? Riders coming from the south, fast. They're flying coalition colors. Kayla's blood went cold. The Southern Coalition, Vera's people. But Vera was dead. Ronan had killed her. How many? Ronan asked. 20, maybe more. Marcus glanced at Kayla. They're asking to speak with the Diamond Wolf, by name. Kayla and Ronan exchanged looks. Then they headed for the gates. The Coalition riders stopped just outside Alliance territory, maintaining the pretense of respecting boundaries. At their head was a woman Kayla didn't recognize, middle-aged, stern-faced, wearing Vera's ceremonial armor. I am Thessa Ashcroft, the woman called, sister of Vera, and I'm here under flag of truce. Funny definition of truce, Ronan said, considering your sister kidnapped my mate. My sister was ambitious, ruthless, and wrong. Tessa's voice carried across the distance. I'm not here to continue her mistakes. Then why are you here? To offer alliance and reparation. Tessa gestured, and two riders came forward carrying a chest. Everything Vera stole, everything she took. We're returning it. They opened the chest. Inside, gold, jewels, artifacts, wealth representing years of coalition raids. Keep it, Kayla said. Use it to rebuild your packs. Tessa blinked. You don't want compensation? I want peace. Can you give me that? The coalition leader studied her for a long moment. Then she dismounted, walked forward, and knelt. The Southern Coalition pledges itself to the Frontier Alliance. We ask only that past crimes be forgiven and future cooperation be granted. Kayla looked at Ronan, who nodded slightly. Your call, his expression said. She walked forward and offered her hand. Then welcome to the Alliance. We can always use more help. Tessa took her hand and stood. Relief crossed her face. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We're going to work you hard. For the first time, Tessa smiled. Good. We're tired of fighting. Ready to build instead. The Southern Coalition's addition brought the Alliance to 8 major packs and over a dozen smaller territories. Nearly 2/3 of the frontier united under one banner. Not through conquest or force. Through choice. 6 months after the original summit, Kayla stood in front of the completed refuge. It had grown beyond her wildest expectations. 10 buildings now, housing over 100 wolves, gardens for growing food, training grounds for teaching self-defense, a school where cubs could learn to read and write, a community. Ronan came up beside her, slipping his hand into hers. Thinking deep thoughts? Thinking about how different everything is. She looked at him. A year ago, I was scrubbing floors in Ironvale, invisible, worthless, and now you're changing the world. We're changing the world. Fair enough. He squeezed her hand. Speaking of which, there's something I want to ask you. Kayla's heart skipped. What? Ronan knelt. Right there in the dirt, in front of the refuge they'd built together, he knelt. Kayla Dorn, Diamond Wolf, builder of hope, love of my life. His voice was steady, but his hands shook slightly. Will you marry me? Kayla's breath caught. What? I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other 8 months, but I also know that I want to spend the rest of my life with you, building, fighting, creating, whatever comes next. He pulled a ring from his pocket, simple silver with a small diamond that caught the light. So what do you say? Want to make this official? Kayla looked at the ring, at Ronan, at the refuge behind them full of wolves who'd found home, at the life she'd built from nothing, and she started crying. Yes, she said through tears. Yes, you ridiculous man. Of course I'll marry you. Ronan stood and kissed her, and the wolves nearby started cheering. The wedding happened 2 months later. Not a political event, though half the frontier showed up anyway. Just a simple ceremony in the refuge's courtyard, surrounded by people who'd become family. Marcus officiated because of course he did. Lissa provided the flowers. Even Declan showed up, having taken Kayla's offer and become the refuge's head of security. As Kayla stood there in a simple white dress, the first new dress she'd ever owned, exchanging vows with Ronan, she thought about her mother. Elena would have loved this. Would have been terrified, probably, but also proud. Her daughter hadn't just survived. She'd thrived. I love you, Ronan said as he slipped the ring onto her finger. I love you too, Kayla replied. And she meant it with everything she had. The celebration lasted 3 days. Wolves from every pack danced, ate, drank, and told stories. Old feuds were forgotten. New friendships formed. It felt like a new beginning. On the 3rd night, as the party finally wound down, Kayla slipped away to the edge of the refuge. She needed a moment of quiet, a moment to process everything that had changed. She found herself at the memorial stone they'd erected for wolves who'd been lost. Names carved into granite. People who'd died alone. Forgotten. Like she almost had been. Kayla traced her mother's name, which she'd added herself. I did it, Mom, she whispered. I showed them. Not by hiding, not by running, by standing up and being exactly what you were afraid I'd be. She paused. I hope that's okay. I hope you'd understand. The wind picked up, rustling through the trees. Almost like an answer, Kayla smiled. Thought I'd find you here. She turned to find Ronan approaching, 2 cups of wine in his hands. Just needed a minute, she said. Take all the time you need. He handed her a cup. Though your husband might get lonely. My husband, Kayla tested the word. Still sounds weird. You'll get used to it. He clinked his cup against hers. What should we drink to? Kayla thought about it. About the girl she'd been. The woman she'd become. About the invisible servant who'd learned to shine. To survival, she said finally. And to the courage to stop just surviving and actually live. I'll drink to that. They did, standing there in the darkness, the lights of the refuge warm behind them. What happens next? Kayla asked. Whatever we want. Ronan pulled her close. That's the beauty of freedom. We get to choose. Then I choose this, building, creating, helping people who need it. She looked up at him. With you beside me. Always. They stood there for a while watching the stars come out. Somewhere in the distance a wolf howled, then another, and another. Not hunting calls, not warnings, songs, celebration, life. The frontier was changing, slowly, imperfectly, but changing nonetheless. And at the center of it all stood a diamond wolf who'd learned that true power wasn't about dominance or fear. It was about hope, about giving the forgotten a voice, about proving that even the weakest, most invisible person could change the world, if they were brave enough to try. Kayla Dorn had been called many things in her life. Worthless, wolfless, nothing. But standing there under the stars, surrounded by the family she'd chosen and the home she'd built, she knew the truth. She was exactly what she'd always been meant to be. A survivor who became a fighter, a victim who became a leader, an invisible girl who became a legend. And she was just getting started. Years later, when wolves told stories about the Diamond Wolf, they'd talk about the battle at the Gathering Grounds, the summit where war became peace, the defeat of the Southern Coalition. But the story Kayla loved most was simpler. It was the story of a girl who refused to stay invisible, who took the hand offered in friendship and built something beautiful from the ashes of everything that had tried to destroy her. Who learned that strength wasn't about being the biggest or the loudest or the most powerful. It was about being brave enough to be seen. The invisible girl was gone. In her place stood Kayla Vale, Supreme Alpha's mate, builder of the refuge, mediator of the Frontier Alliance. Diamond Wolf, legend, free, and for the first time in her life, completely, perfectly, impossibly happy. The end wasn't really an ending. It was a beginning, and the story of what she'd build next was only just starting. But that's a tale for another time. For now, Kayla stood with her husband under the stars, surrounded by hope, and knew with absolute certainty she was exactly where she belonged.